the only son of the world's richest man, dated a billionaire businesswoman for 5 years, was about to reveal his true identity to her, when he overheard her group of friends speaking in front of him. They began talking in French. Yan, you're about to marry Zhang Xiao. What about the young boyfriend you're seeing right now? Are you breaking up with him? Ruyan gently swirled the wine in her glass. No, I won't break up. I really like him, but his family is too poor, unable to present anything worthy for marriage. Just giving the family an explanation. He is the true love. Keep it a secret from him at that time. Just keep him outside and take care of him. They talked so recklessly. They simply assumed I come from a poor family and don't understand French. I didn't tell them. Actually, I can understand French. It turns out that while he was whispering sweetly to me, he had already agreed to the arranged marriage set up by his family. Turns out he was sweet-talking me and having me call him my husband, while at the same time, he was busy marrying someone of his own social standing. No one noticed how pale my face had become. I made an excuse to go to the restroom. As soon as I stepped out, I called my family. Dad and Mom, I've made up my mind. I'm ready to go back and take over the family business. Hearing that their son was finally willing to let go, Father Yi and Mother Yi were crying with joy on the other end of the phone. Thinking about the girlfriend he hid his identity from, they couldn't help but ask, so is that girlfriend of yours coming back with you? You still haven't told her about your real identity, right? No, I plan to break up with her. When mentioning Lu Ruyan, my voice unconsciously softened a bit. In a week, I will wrap everything up here. After chatting for a bit longer, I ended the call. I put away my phone and returned to the private room. The room was crowded with people, and it was quite noisy. The sound of conversations paused for a moment as I pushed the door open. It stopped briefly, but I acted as though I didn't notice anything. I walked straight over and sat down next to Lu Ruyan. He shifted some of his attention from the conversation, looking over at me quietly sitting on the side. What kind of call is Liang Chen on for so long? I hadn't even started speaking, before another voice interrupted abruptly. There wasn't a single French person present, yet that person said something in French. Ruyan, when are you and Zhang Yida planning to get married? Hearing this sentence, I gripped the cup a little tighter in my hand. The tips of my fingers turned slightly pale. Lu Ruyan still had that casual and indifferent demeanor. After glancing at me, she answered his question in French. The date set by the family was scheduled for half a month later. Hearing this, everyone present turned to look at me simultaneously. One of the ladies raised her eyebrows slightly, and there was a hint of curiosity in her tone. If you marry Zhang Yida, then what about Yi Liangchen? Will they break up or not? Lu Ruyan shook her head slightly. The wine glass in her hand swayed gently. She took a small sip, then she continued speaking. Marriage is just to give the family an explanation. The only one I love is Aiken. As soon as she said this, the private room instantly filled with laughter. The sound of banter and jokes came one after another. Sister Yen, why are you suddenly into pure romance? The difference in status is so vast. You really have feelings for him. He turned his head to look at me. The tenderness and love in his eyes were so intense it felt almost tangible. Without saying a single word, he perfectly conveyed the answer to this question. Someone looked at him with that lovesick expression on his face, amazed and impressed. Looks like he's really fallen in love. But speaking of which, does he really not understand French? That person was just casually asking. Who would have thought others would laugh after hearing his words? One after another, they burst out laughing. Yi Liangchen's family struggles financially. How could they afford to learn a less common foreign language? Don't worry, there's no way he understands it. The sound of everyone laughing was echoing around me. Nobody noticed. Standing nearby, my breathing grew a little unsteady. The hand gripping my wineglass had already turned pale at the knuckles. I didn't tell them that I could actually understand French. After all, I was never just some poor guy with no money. I was the only son of the richest man in the world. We had been together for 5 years. Lu Ruyan had always treated me well, but he never took me to meet his parents. At first, I thought he was just concerned about the gap in our social status. After all, the Lu family is a renowned and prestigious family in Haicheng, so I had already made up my mind early on. I planned to come clean about my true identity to him. I am the only son of the richest man. It's just that I didn't want to live forever under the protective wings of my parents, so I decided to hide my identity and go out to gain experience. It just so happened that the timing was perfect. 3 days ago, I was in his study. I saw a red wedding invitation. The groom was the young master of the Zhang family, and the bride turned out to be Lu Ruyan. It turned out that while he was being affectionate with me, he had already agreed to an arranged marriage set up by his family. It turned out he was sweet-talking me and having me call him my husband, while at the same time preparing to marry someone from a family that matched his status. and someone his family fully approved of as his spouse. At that moment, I suddenly felt there was no need to say anything more. From this day on, he would go and get married. I would take over the family business. We each had a bright future ahead of us. After a few rounds of drinks, the group was chatting away happily. As the sky gradually darkened, everyone decided to wrap things up and get ready to leave. I followed everyone out of the private room. I had only taken a few steps when I heard an unfamiliar voice behind me. "Young Master Yi." I paused in my tracks and turned around to see. The person calling out to me was someone who used to beg to collaborate with Father Yi, a former business partner. I couldn't help but let out a sigh in my heart. I don't want to reveal my identity. I was just thinking about how to get through this unnoticed. One of the girls following behind Lu Ruyan looked me up and down and immediately let out a mocking laugh. What kind of young master? Yi Liangchen with the clothes he's wearing right now doesn't even add up to more than $300. How could he possibly be some young master? What an absolute joke. As soon as those words were spoken, it immediately caused a burst of laughter. They didn't speak French. I heard their mocking clearly, but showed no reaction on my face. Instead, Lu Ruyan got upset and shot a cold warning glance at that person. That person, finding it a bit pointless, restrained themselves and no longer mocked so blatantly. The others, after receiving the warning look as well, things gradually calmed down. The noise died away. That person didn't follow us. I walked behind Lu Ruyan. The two of us went home in silence. When we got home, he took off his coat and hung it on the coat rack nearby. Then he suddenly spoke. "I won't take you to these kinds of gatherings anymore." My voice and expression remained calm. Even if I was indirectly excluded from his circle of friends, there was not the slightest change. He just asked one question. "Do you think I embarrassed you?" He couldn't help but laugh for a moment. He intended to give me a hug, but I avoided it, so he could only helplessly explain what he was thinking. "I just didn't want you to feel wronged. But there is a gap between our statuses. You'll always end up facing situations like this. Hasn't your family ever urged you to consider an arranged marriage?" I watched him closely, trying to spot any hint of guilt in his expression. But even when he heard the words arranged marriage, Lu Ruyan's expression only froze for a moment. He quickly returned to his usual demeanor. "Ah, Chen, all you need to know is that you're the one I love. As for everything else, I always find a way to solve it." If I hadn't observed carefully, I really wouldn't have noticed anything unusual about him. After finishing speaking, Lu Ruyan went to the bathroom first to freshen up. Watching him walk away, I stayed silent, but couldn't help thinking to myself, the so-called solution you mentioned is just following your family's advice and getting engaged. Are you keeping one outside? In the direction of the bedside table not far away, a notification sound came through. It was Lu Ruyan's phone. He never kept his password a secret from me, so it was easy for me to unlock his phone. I entered the message screen, took a quick glance. It was a message from Zhang Yida. "Ruyan, you're meeting both families tomorrow. If you don't stay here today, will the elders find out that our marriage is fake? I know the one you love is your boyfriend, but at least for these few days, can you give me some dignity?" Even though the words sounded humble, I could see what he meant. At first, he used the excuse of both parents to beg him to live together. So what happened next? They'll just keep using this excuse, pushing boundaries step by step. But this has nothing to do with me anymore. I've already decided to leave. With that in mind, I marked the message as unread again. Then I put the phone back where it was. Not long after, Lu Ruyan came out after finishing up in the bathroom. She casually picked up her phone and glanced at it. The next moment, he looked at me with an apologetic expression. There was a sudden urgent matter at Aiken's company. He needed me to go over there for a bit. He said he wouldn't be coming back tonight. He told me to rest well by myself. He left in such a hurry. He didn't have time to notice my reaction, nor did he realize that I used to always see him off at the door, while complaining to him as he left. I hope he can spare a bit more time to spend with me. This time, there wasn't even the slightest attempt to make him stay. I watched his figure disappear further and further away. With a single chime, Lu Ruyan had just left not too long ago, and I received a message on my phone. As long as I say the word, Ruyan would still come back to find me. Tomorrow, we're meeting the parents. When we finally get married, what exactly will you be then? A lover who has to stay hidden from the world. The words Zhang Yida said were really harsh, but what hurt me even more was that the knife used to harm me by others was handed over by the girlfriend I once thought I could trust for life. She gave it away with her own hands. Lu Ruyan might not realize that even if I hadn't found that invitation card, She is going to marry someone else, and it won't be long before I find out, because the day after she discovered the invitation, Zhang Yida added me as a friend. These past few days, he's been constantly sending me all kinds of taunting pictures. Pictures of Lu Ruyan accompanying Zhang Yida to try on wedding outfits. Photos of them picking out a diamond ring together. Pictures of them shopping for a wedding venue. One photo after another, one after the other. It completely destroyed all the love I had for Lu Ruyan. That night, Lu Ruyan did not come back. I didn't pay any attention to it at all. When I woke up the next morning, I just did a quick freshen up and went straight to the company to submit my resignation. I completed the resignation process on the same day. During my lunch break, I had a meal downstairs with my colleagues. After I mentioned that I had already completed the resignation process, a co-worker who gets along with me fairly well couldn't help but joke around. Lately, I've been seeing videos frequently saying that co-workers who suddenly quit are going back to inherit a family business. Liangchen, you quit so decisively. You're not going back to inherit some family business too, are you? My co-worker was just joking casually, but I nodded slightly. Yeah, I'm going back to inherit the family business. Everyone froze for a moment, then burst out laughing together. They just took that sentence as a joke, and didn't give it much thought. I smiled faintly, and didn't explain any further. After finishing my meal, I packed up all my belongings into a suitcase, carried the suitcase straight home. When I got back, Lu Ruyan happened to be at home. She saw me coming back carrying a box. She felt a bit puzzled inside. I nodded and said I had resigned. I carried the box and headed toward my room. Her eyebrows furrowed tightly. She called out to stop me. Didn't you really like this job? Why did you suddenly quit? I paused in my steps. When looking at him, a smile appeared on my face. Because I have something else I'd rather do next. Hearing him say that, Lu Ruyan didn't ask much further. She just said if work gets too exhausting, come back. Working so hard every single day, it makes me feel sorry for him. Ah Chen, you need to know this. I can support you. I shook my head and said word by word that I am not anyone's accessory. Lu Ruyan is so stunning. How could she ever be an accessory? I don't want to listen anymore. I interrupted him as I started to speak. Why are you back so early today? Didn't go to the office today. Work has been so hectic lately. I haven't had any time to spend with you, so today I decided to take some time to be with you. His frown gradually relaxed. Then he turned back into the person he used to be, the girlfriend who always goes along with whatever I want. What do you feel like doing? Having Western food or watching a movie? Whatever you want to do today, I'll be right there with you. If I were my old self hearing these words, I would probably be deeply moved at this moment. After all, I am aware that he is the heir of the Lu Group. There really is a lot of work to handle every day. So, he is willing to take time out to do the things I want to do with me. At least it shows. I hold a significant place in his heart. But now when I look at him, I can't help but wonder deep down, is it the workload that's overwhelming? Or is it the wedding preparations that are keeping him so busy? How is he even managing all this? While planning a wedding with another man, he kept sweet-talking me, telling me that I was the only one he truly loved. In the end, I still didn't expose his lies. After all, there were only a few days left. By then, I would naturally disappear from his life, vanishing without a trace. I shook my head, rejecting his suggestion. After thinking it over one last time, why don't you help me do a big cleanup? There are so many old things in the villa. Keeping them around doesn't really serve any purpose. Lu Ruyan agreed to help. She spent quite some time helping me clean, but by the end of it we realized the things I had sorted out turned out to all be the couple's items we bought together back then. From mugs to accessories, from clothes to slippers. I tossed them all into the trash without any hesitation. The smile on his face faded more and more as I threw away the matching items, and eventually turned completely stiff, until the last piece was also thrown into the trash. The panic in his heart could no longer be hidden. Does Chen know something? What could I possibly know? Are you hiding something from me? I raised an eyebrow, watching Lu Ruyan avoid his question. She turned the question back on him. He averted his gaze, unable to look me in the eye. After a moment of silence, he still didn't give a direct answer in the end. Instead, he just held my hand tightly and said, "Ah Chen, no matter what happens, just remember this, the one I love is you." I tugged at the corners of my lips, stopped talking. After finishing the thorough cleaning, Lu Ruyan still insisted on taking me out on a date. I was afraid he might notice something unusual, so I didn't refuse again. He took me out for a meal, then we watched a movie. The car was just about to enter an auction venue when a man in an elegant suit came into view, walking towards us. A fleeting moment of unease crossed his face. I noticed it right away. "What's wrong? Did you run into someone you know?" As soon as the words were spoken, the man stopped right in front of us. He greeted us with a cheerful smile. He promptly introduced himself. "He is the son of my family friend, Zhang Yida." After a slight pause, he began introducing me. "This is my boyfriend, Yi Liangchen." Hearing the stark contrast in their introductions, the smile on Zhang Yida's face instantly froze. After a brief pause, he forced a smile and reached out to shake my hand. "I've heard that Ruyan's boyfriend is very handsome. Seeing him today, he truly lives up to his reputation." Just as we were talking about the previous day in front of me, those sisters who mocked me in French also came over to join us. I glanced in the direction I couldn't see and winked at Lu Ruyan. It was only then that I realized this encounter wasn't by chance, but rather, they intentionally brought Zhang Yida along. A surge of anger rose within me. Yet, in this situation, if I suddenly lost my temper, it would be even harder to explain. Left with no choice, I had to suppress all my frustration. At the auction, Zhang Yida's seat was right next to Lu Ruyan. He didn't have the provocative tone from the text messages. In real life, he came across as generous. He was well-versed and knowledgeable. Upon learning that Lu Ruyan had an interest in porcelain, he enthusiastically talked about the topic. Lu Ruyan went from being dismissive at first to gradually leaning her body closer, moving subtly in his direction, until I cleared my throat. Lu Ruyan suddenly remembered. She had been ignoring me the whole time. He quickly softened his tone and asked if I was bored. "Ah Chun, I know these things don't interest you. If there's anything you like, just go ahead and bid for it." Before I could say anything, from behind me, the whispers of her friends reached my ears again, even though they were deliberately speaking in a low voice. But because there was only one row of seats in between, I could still hear their voices loud and clear. "Sister Yan is really good at defending Yi Liangchen's dignity. Even if he's interested, so what? He doesn't know anything at all. He probably doesn't even know how to raise a paddle. Ha ha ha. It's an auction for high society. This must be his first time attending." They were talking while laughing, and even gave a disdainful glance in my direction. It was said to be a whisper, but I felt more like they were intentionally making sure I could hear them. I didn't bother to argue. After all, the next time we meet, they would have to stand respectfully in front of me and address me as young Master Yi. At that moment, the previous auction item had just been sold. The next item was then brought out. It was a jade sculpture of a pine tree and crane symbolizing longevity. The jade is of exceptional quality. What matters most is the host's introduction. It is said to be a piece by the master sculptor Junsheng, known as the ancestor of jade carving. Upon hearing this introduction, Zhang Yida became instantly excited. He raised the bidding paddle in his hand. "This holds incredible value as a collectible. The day after tomorrow is Grandma Lu's birthday. It would be perfect to purchase this as a birthday gift for Grandma Lu." When I heard the name of Master Junsheng, I instinctively looked up at the collection on the stage. I only glanced at it briefly. I quickly shifted my gaze away. The tone was flat and emotionless, yet it felt like a bucket of cold water being poured over Zhang Yida's head. "This is a fake." Zhang Yida looked at me in disbelief. He was about to question what a country bumpkin like me could possibly know, but when he saw Lu Ruyan sitting next to him, he forced a smile and held back his anger. How did Mr. Yi figure it out? Because it was truly gifted to him by the eldest son of the Yi family, the rich heir. "Grandma, this is the only one of its kind in the world. It is actually on the stage at my house. This one must be fake." I was just trying to give a kind reminder, but as soon as those words came out, Zhang Yida suddenly burst into laughter. Even the group of sisters behind Lu Ruyan, and then they started mocking recklessly. "Yi Liangchen, if you don't understand, don't pretend you do. What a disgrace. Even ended up being gifted by the son of the richest man. Did you actually crawl under the bed and see it for yourself? Don't tell me you think having the surname Yi means anything, and believe that you could somehow connect yourself to the Yi family's eldest son." The group's laughter grew louder and louder. In the end, it was Lu Ruyan with a stern expression who put an end to their sarcastic remarks. He was looking at me. He held my hand. "Kun, I know you've been reading some books on appraisal recently, but your appraisal skills can't be improved just from books. Yida has been attending auctions since childhood, and has also studied jade carving extensively, so it's natural that he knows a bit more than you. He didn't say anything overly offensive, but his words still implied that I was talking nonsense. I let out a soft chuckle. I didn't say a word. In the end, Zhang Yida spent an entire 100 million. He paid a high price to win the bid for that jade sculpture. The moment I saw him go to swipe his card, I smiled without knowing why. When Mrs. Liu finds out he spent 100 million to buy a fake jade sculpture, I wonder what she would think about it. I didn't stop him, didn't pay much attention, got up and went to the restroom. Had just finished washing my hands when a familiar voice came from behind me. Yi Liangchen, I thought I had made myself clear enough, but you still have the nerve to stay. Do you really want to be the third party that much? His voice was sharp and grating, completely different from the mature and composed demeanor he had earlier. I calmly lifted my gaze, turned around to look at him. Mr. Zhang wants you to figure it out. I am the one who has been with him for 5 years. The word third party shouldn't apply to me, right? With that, I was about to walk past him and leave, but he still refused to let me go. He sneered and continued to mock me. Together for 5 years. She still hasn't married you. Haven't you ever wondered why? I am the heir of the Zhang family. He is the heir to the Liu Corporation. He and I are a perfect match in terms of family background. And you? Your family has a father who gambles, a mother who is ill. Such a rundown and poor family background, having nothing to offer. What makes you think you're worthy of him? I paused in my tracks. This family background is something I made up myself, but I really didn't expect this. Lu Ruyan would also tell Zhang Yida about this. I couldn't help but laugh at myself. If I truly came from such a family background, would that make him the so-called boyfriend she mentioned? The one who claims to love her, the only person who could be her boyfriend, would hand another knife to hurt her again to another man? Indeed unworthy. There was a stabbing pain in my heart. Glancing back at Zhang Yida, the pent-up frustration in my heart suddenly dissipated. You two are truly a perfect match. I wish you both a happy ending. As soon as the words were spoken, I took another step to leave. I hadn't walked far when the phone started ringing. It was a call from Ye's mother. Liangchen, please come back quickly. Your family is all waiting for you. They even got a bunch of gifts ready for you. Your dad and I bought you a castle while we were abroad. Your aunt got you a diamond wristwatch. Apparently, it was once worn by the King of England. Your uncle also prepared a garage full of luxury cars for you. Listening to Mom talking non-stop, she kept mentioning how much the family had prepared for my return. I felt completely helpless. Mom, I'm just going back to inherit the family estate, not squandering the family fortune. Just as I finished speaking, a familiar voice came from behind me. What inheritance? I froze for a moment. Instinctively, I hung up the phone, but I couldn't help sighing to myself. These people, why do they all like standing behind others? And suddenly speaking up, I glanced back once, and saw Lu Ruyan's face, which didn't look very pleasant. After thinking for a moment, I finally explained briefly that it was nothing. It was just that a former colleague asked me what I planned to do after resigning. I joked with them, saying I would go back home to inherit the family fortune. Lu Ruyan frowned slightly. I am clearly not someone who likes to joke around that much. He instinctively felt that something was off. Just as he was about to speak, I had already walked several steps ahead. Should I call him back and tell him not to leave? There are still a few jewelry pieces left that haven't been displayed. When she heard this, Lu Ruyan thought I wanted to buy some jewelry, so she nodded slightly. She followed me as I returned to the auction hall. Lu Ruyan then presented the next few limited edition watches. All the clothes were purchased at a high price. After having them packed, they were delivered straight to me. I looked at the box in my hands. Quietly, I said I don't need these things. Lu Ruyan smiled and hugged me, saying you'll get used to it over time. Don't worry about wasting money. I'll keep buying them for you for the rest of your life. I moved my lips slightly, but in the end, I still didn't say the rest of what was on my mind. I won't use these items worth millions. My watch collection is worth millions of dollars. The auction has come to an end. People at the venue started leaving one after another. Lu Ruyan and our group didn't stay for long either. Everyone drove their own car here. Originally, we were just going to head straight home, but as soon as I got into the car hadn't even started yet. The passenger side window was knocked on by Zhang Yida. The window slowly rolled down. You absolutely can't tell the sharp and harsh look you gave me in the restroom earlier. Ruyan, my car broke down. Can you give me a ride home? Lu Yuyan frowned slightly. Just as she was about to refuse, he spoke again and said, Uncle. Aunt and Uncle said you should take care of me. You haven't forgotten, have you? Lu Yuyan seemed to think of something. His expression turned slightly serious. In the end, he still agreed to it. Seeing him nod directly, the smile on his face became noticeably brighter. Then he went even further and looked at me more boldly. But I get carsick. I can't sit in the back seat. What should I do, Lu? Ruyan glanced at me. The words were stuck in her throat and didn't come out. I had already pushed the car door open, got out of the car and moved straight to the back seat. The movements were smooth and effortless. Lu Ruyan hadn't even had time to react. I was already settled in the back seat. His words were immediately stuck in his throat, neither coming out nor staying in, making it extremely uncomfortable. He seemed hesitant to speak, wanting to say it was just a seat after all. No need to worry so much. As I shifted my gaze from the rearview mirror to the back seat, I had already closed my eyes, looking as if I wanted to take a rest. At that very moment, Zhang Yida had just gotten into the car as well. The car door shut. He noticed me in the back seat with my eyes closed, relaxing, and a smug smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Yi Liangchen, so what if the person he likes right now is still you? The things I want, don't they all eventually end up in my hands anyway? Getting his new fabric is just a matter of time. Thinking this way, his mood suddenly brightened. When he looked at Lu Ruyan, his eyes were full of tenderness. Is Mr. Yi feeling tired? Then let him take a short rest. Maybe she noticed something unusual about me. Lu Ruyan barely spoke to Zhang Yida. She just nodded slightly, then quietly started the car. I somehow fell asleep without realizing it. When I woke up again, the car was already parked in the garage of the Lu family villa. Zhang Yida was no longer in the car. Lu Ruyan gently touched my face. Awake now, you seem to be sleeping soundly. I just couldn't bring myself to call you. My mind still felt a little foggy. I nodded slightly. Then I opened the car door. After getting out of the car, I didn't wait for Lu Ruyan. I headed straight toward the front gate. When Lu Ruyan got out of the car, I had already reached the entrance. He quickly caught up, cornering me at the doorway. Upset. Zhang Yida really is just the son of a family friend. Don't worry about it, I responded with a hum. Lu Ruyan thought I was still upset. She reached out and grabbed my hand, helplessly growling that he really is just the son of a family friend. My dear, the only one I love is you, and you know it. After saying that, I caught the scent of roses on me. I suddenly realized it had been quite a while since we had spent some quality time together. She lowered her head, preparing to kiss me, but I pushed her away immediately. Seeing the surprised look on her face, I walked straight into the room. I wasn't feeling well, so I went to rest in the bedroom. After saying that, I locked the door right away, completely shutting out any chance of Lu Ruyan coming in. The next morning, in the restaurant on the first floor, I was having breakfast with Lu Ruyan. My phone, placed to the side, suddenly started ringing. It was the alarm I had set some time ago. The note on it said it was the day to meet the parents. Lu Ruyan saw those words as well. I had planned to reveal my identity to him earlier, so I mentioned taking him home to meet my parents. He agreed to it too. The two of us exchanged a glance. I was just thinking about how to cancel this meeting. The next moment, his phone started ringing too. It was a call from Zhang Yida. No idea what was said on the other end. His expression changed slightly. When he walked back to me, he apologized and canceled the meeting. Aiken, something urgent just came up for me this time. Let's meet your parents next time instead. Is that okay? I thought I would get upset and make a scene. In the end, I calmly nodded my head. It just so happens I have something to take care of today as well. Not long after Lu Ruyan left, I also stepped out. I went to the mall to prepare a gift for each friend I was about to meet. I got everyone a present. When we arrived at the meeting place, everyone unwrapped their packages and saw what was inside each box. It was an entirely new luxury item. They immediately gasped in surprise. Liang Chen, where did you manage to find so many goods like this? This looks way too real. They're all genuine. Watching them unable to put it down, I couldn't help but let out a small laugh. After explaining everything, seeing their faces still filled with disbelief, I revealed my true identity to them. Actually, what I told you earlier about my father gambling and my mother being seriously ill was not true. My real identity is that of the only son of the richest man, Yi Liangchen. This time, I'm saying goodbye to you all, because I need to go back home to inherit the family fortune. When they heard me say this, everyone was first shocked and stunned, and then they were overjoyed, exclaiming, I can't believe the heir of a wealthy family has been right next to me all along. And the screams of excitement filled the room. It felt like the entire restaurant's ceiling was about to be lifted off. After the cheers subsided, someone remembered Lou Ruyan. They quickly asked if you're going back. What about Lou Ruyan? Does he know your true identity yet? When Lou Ruyan was mentioned, the smile on my face faded a little. He's planning to marry someone else. How is that even possible? Upon hearing those words, our friends were completely in disbelief. In our eyes, he was the rare kind of person who would do anything for love in a wealthy family. That's right. 3 years ago, you mentioned liking night-blooming serious flowers. He spent a fortune buying every single one in the world, just to make you smile. 2 years ago, when you caught the flu, he canceled a billion-dollar deal and rushed back from overseas to be with you, personally taking care of you, staying awake all night long, afraid to close his eyes. And then a year ago, you were in a car accident. Originally, the truck lost control and was heading straight for you. He forced the vehicle to change direction to shield you. In the end, you were completely unharmed. He broke 3 ribs himself, spent 3 months lying in a hospital bed, nearly didn't make it back to consciousness. Now he's getting married. How could the groom not be you? Hearing my good friend talk about those times, I still feel deeply moved in my heart. Back then, Lou Ruyan truly loved me so much she would have given up her life for it. But now I shook my head and gave a faint smile. He loved me, but his family thought my status wasn't good enough for him, forcing him into marriage. I didn't even get the chance to come clean. He had already printed the invitations. From what he said, he probably wants me to be his lover after the wedding. When the guys heard that, they went ballistic instantly. What lover? Making the only son of the richest man a lover. The Lou family must have lost their minds. All right. When the time comes and he ends up chasing his way to the crematorium, that is if he finds out you secretly left their home and learns about your true identity, he might just lose his mind at that moment. Lou Ruyan and Zhang Yida walked in from outside the door. They overheard what was being said and frowned slightly. What true identity? Seeing them walk in together, a friend was filled with righteous indignation. Just as they were about to speak, I stopped them immediately. I glanced at the two who had just entered, with an indifferent expression. Why are you here? Hearing my question, Lou Ruyan seemed a bit uneasy, her eyes darting around nervously. Our two companies happened to have a collaboration, so we scheduled a meeting to discuss it. Listening to his response, I couldn't help but laugh. Of course I knew about their collaboration. A collaboration in marriage, because we were there to discuss the partnership. Lou Ruyan and Zhang Yida did not sit at the same table with us. Instead, they sat at a separate table nearby, close enough for me to clearly see the intimate interactions between the two of them, like when he helped her cut the steak, when she shared her favorite food with him, when he handed her a tissue, when he wiped the smudge off the corner of her lips, the two of them taking turns in their gestures. It made my friends fuming mad to watch, while I remained calm and composed. By the time the meal was over, the event on my side had wrapped up as well. Lou Ruyan suggested giving Zhang Yida and me a ride home. Maybe it was because of the fight over the front passenger seat last time. This time Lou Ruyan seemed to have learned her lesson. She simply brought out the extended Rolls-Royce from her home. The car was being driven by a chauffeur, so naturally, there was no need to argue over the front seat again. The car smoothly headed in the direction of Zhang's house. The entire way was completely clear without any obstacles. No one would have expected an accident to happen at this moment. A runaway truck came speeding from the other direction. The driver instinctively jerked the steering wheel. There was a loud bang. The two vehicles still ended up crashing into each other. As the car window shattered, I was thrown to the other side due to inertia. I happened to see Lou Ruyan shielding Zhang Yida beside her. Not only did she keep him completely unharmed, she also comforted him to calm him down. My mind started to fade into a haze. Suddenly, I remembered the car accident my friends just mentioned. Back then, it was our 4th year together. My feelings for him were still at their strongest. It happened at an intersection like this one. A truck came speeding towards us. The truck was coming directly from his side. In a moment of terror, he realized there was no way to avoid the truck, so he had no choice but to make a sharp turn. Position yourself on the side facing the truck. The front of the vehicle was crushed inward. He was tightly trapped in the driver's seat. Firefighters and doctors worked together to save him for a long time. It was only after much effort that they finally got him out of the car. He almost lost his life that day. but even so, he made it out of danger. When he woke up, the first thing he said was still asking about my safety. Now it's the same kind of car accident. The difference is, the person he instinctively protected is no longer me. The rear of the extended Rolls-Royce was hit so badly that it was hard to look at, until everyone got out of the car. Lu Ruyan, who had been calming Zhang Yida's emotions, finally caught sight of me silently covering my bleeding forehead. Luckily, my injuries weren't serious. After arriving at the hospital and getting the wound bandaged, there was nothing much to worry about. It was only because the injury was on the head, so the doctor still suggested staying in the hospital for observation for a couple of days. Lu Ruyan looked at the bandages on my head. Her face was full of guilt. "Ah Chen, I'm so sorry. At that time, I was only thinking about this. There will be a collaboration with Zhang Yida in a while. We'll need to attend an event together." His face couldn't afford to get hurt. That's why he was protected. "I accept it if you hit me or scold me. Just don't ignore me, okay?" His attitude when admitting his mistake was genuinely sincere. The reasoning seems to make sense. If I hadn't remembered that event of theirs, which had less than half a month left, the wedding that was about to take place, I kept my head down and didn't say anything. I never said I forgave. There was no mention of forgiveness. From start to finish, the expression remained indifferent, a face without a trace of emotion. Lu Ruyan's apologies kept coming. She kept repeating the words "I'm sorry." Suddenly, as if a thought crossed her mind, a hopeful glimmer appeared in her eyes. "Your birthday is just a few days away. How about I give you your gift in advance? What kind of birthday present would you like? I'll buy it all for you." Hearing that, I finally lifted my eyes to look at him. My gaze remained calm and emotionless. "Then buy me a plane ticket. One for 3 days later to Hu City." "Why are you going to Hu City?" He looked a little surprised, but he quickly came up with his own explanation. "Are you planning to travel?" I didn't bother to explain, gave a slight nod, responded with just a hum. Lu Ruyan didn't ask anything further, unlocked her phone right in front of me, booked a flight ticket to Hucheng. After buying the ticket, she mentioned she had something to do during this time, said she wouldn't have time to keep me company, suggested I go visit Hucheng first, said she'd join me when she's free. "I'll go with you one more time. Buy a plane ticket. This birthday gift is way too small. By then, I'll give you an even bigger surprise." I shook my head, gave a slight smile. "Not at all, it's not small. After all, this plane ticket is my way back home." Lu Ruyan, thank you for the gift. Personally sending me home. During the 2 days I was hospitalized, Lu Ruyan seemed to go back to how she was when we first started dating. She genuinely took care of me in every possible way. But the good times didn't last long. Her care and attention ended on the day I was discharged. She mentioned she had work at the company and left first. She arranged for the driver to take me back home. Shortly after that, I received a provocative text from Zhang Yida. "Apologies, Ru Yan and I are about to get married. He's going to accompany me to the old house for dinner today. He probably won't have time to pick you up from the hospital." I didn't pay much attention to this message. I quietly went back home. I started packing my things. I got up very early on the day I left, 7 hours before the flight. I moved the suitcases out the door one by one, and I happened to run into Lu Ruyan as she was coming back. Seeing several suitcases piled up at the villa entrance, her expression suddenly became flustered. A sense of unease rose abruptly in her heart. "What's going on here? Didn't I say we were going to Shanghai for a trip, and it was the ticket you bought for me? Did you forget my calm expression? As if I was really just getting ready for a casual trip." But my explanation failed to make her believe me. "Weren't you just going for a day or two? You need to bring so much luggage." I tugged at the corners of my lips. "Pack a few more outfits. I want to take more photos." But I never used to enjoy taking pictures that much. When we went on trips together, I never brought this much stuff. That uneasiness spread from his chest to his whole body, making him want to open my suitcase right on the spot and thoroughly check everything inside. "Let's see if things will go as I hoped." He was just about to make a move, when a sudden, urgent ringtone interrupted him. It was a call from Zhang Yida. After picking up the phone, I couldn't tell what was being said on the other end. Lu Ruyan paused for a moment in silence, but in the end, she was the first to head out the door. Before leaving, she reminded me once again, "Ah Chen, don't play for too long. Send me the flight details for when you return. I'll pick you up." I didn't respond, because I knew I wouldn't be coming back. This meeting would be our final farewell. 5 hours before takeoff, I changed the door code. I switched it from my birthday to Zhang Yida's birthday. Then I stuck a sticky note on the door. This would be Mr. Zhang's home from now on, after all. It made sense to set the code to his birthday. 3 hours before the flight took off, I found all the photos in the villa. Every picture of me and Lu Ruyan. Each one was thrown into the fire pit, leaping into my arms and kissing under the dazzling fireworks, repeating over and over that I belonged to him, confessing to me under a sunset sky filled with stars, promising to love me forever and shielding me from harm. He broke 3 ribs for me and his social media was all about me. We walked through the seasons together. We walked through summer and welcomed autumn. We searched through winter and now memories are burning away bit by bit. We are completely over now. 2 hours before my flight, my phone buzzed and I opened it to see Zhang Yida had sent me a video. The video seemed to be from a family dinner, with Lu Ruyan's friends there. Zhang Yida's friends were also present, and so were the elders from both families. Many people are associating Lu Ruyan and Zhang Yida. These two prominent figures are drawing everyone's attention. The sound of people cheering is echoing non-stop. Kiss her, kiss her. Kiss her, I'm saying, Sister Yen. There are only a few days left until the wedding. Why would you feel shy about kissing? Amid the loud cheers, Zhang Yida, with his cheeks turning bright red, leaned closer to her. The crowd's screams grew louder and louder. The crowd was hyping Zhang Yida to go for the kiss. Lu Ruyan stared intently at the person in front of her. Finally, she closed her eyes. She raised her hand and held the back of his head. The video kept playing over and over again. When it played for the 7th time, a message from Zhang Yida came through. Did Yi Liangchen see it? I am the one everyone in the Lu family recognizes as the heir. The son-in-law's family is so poor. How could the Lu family ever think highly of you? With your kind of background, you might as well marry a beggar woman. So what if Ruyan loves you? His defenses are gradually being broken down by me. First, he accompanied me to meet his parents. Then we started living together. He just kissed me a moment ago. How much longer do you think it will be until we end up in bed? I didn't reply to his message, quietly printed out all the provoking messages he sent over the past few days. One by one, printed them all out, organized them into a stack, placed it in the empty living room. An hour before takeoff, I left my final words on that stack of printer paper, wishing Lu Ruyan a happy marriage. Lu Ruyan, congratulations on your wedding. That was the end for us. Then I pulled my suitcase and walked out of the villa area, caught a cab, raced toward the airport. From now on, Lu Ruyan, I'll return to being the wealthy young master I once was, and have nothing more to do with you. Fucheng Airport. When I walked out of the airport with my suitcase, a Bugatti that looked incredibly expensive was already waiting outside. The moment it saw me approaching, the man outside the car immediately opened the door for me. He opened the car door for me. Young master, please get in the car. The luggage was loaded into the car. As I got into the car and settled in my seat, I naturally started chatting with the man who sat in the driver's seat, and we began to have a conversation. Uncle Lee, why are you the one picking me up instead of the family driver? Uncle Lee chuckled softly. The fine wrinkles at the corners of his eyes showed subtly. It made him seem a bit more approachable. The car started. It slowly merged into the traffic. His voice followed along. Young master, it's been so many years since you last came back. I heard you were coming back today, so I volunteered to take on this job. Looks like Uncle Lee really missed me. I gave a small smile. My eyes carried a hint of teasing. Then he started asking about how things were at home. How have mom and dad been doing all these years? Uncle Lee has worked as the Yi family's housekeeper for decades. He practically watched me grow up. From his perspective, I feel more like a junior, so when we interact, it doesn't feel distant. When I teased him, he didn't deny it. Instead, he nodded in agreement. What is said truly reflects what is thought. Everything is perfectly fine with the master and madam at home. They are in good health. Other than missing you from time to time, there's really nothing else to mention. I spent the entire trip chatting with Uncle Lee. When the car stopped at the Yi family villa, I had a general understanding of how things had been at home over the years. I also got a rough idea of the situation at home in recent years. After getting out of the car, I headed straight to the villa. As I pushed the door open, there was already a group of servants waiting by the door. When they saw me walk in, their voices and movements were perfectly synchronized. Welcome home, young master. I couldn't help but feel a little helpless, rubbing my forehead as Uncle Lee came over pushing the suitcase. The servants quickly stepped in and carried it upstairs. Seeing my helpless expression, he smiled and said the master and madam value a sense of ceremony. They heard that the young master was coming back. They stayed up all night training and prepared a welcome ceremony. Right now, they should all be in the living room waiting for him. I nodded slightly. even though the setup was indeed a bit over the top. I didn't say anything to ruin the mood. Instead, I headed straight to the living room. Sure enough, the living room was packed with people at this moment. Father Yi and Mother Yi were there as well, along with my uncles and aunts. All of them were present. I stepped forward and greeted everyone one by one. I sat down beside Father Yi and Mother Yi. I noticed their expressions filled with concern. The calm I had felt all along suddenly shattered. I leaned against my mother's shoulder. A wave of indescribable grievance surged in my heart. I was pampered by all the elders since I was a child. I never really suffered any losses, until I decided to challenge myself, and went to Haicheng while hiding my identity. I came across Lu Ruyan. I was in a relationship with her for 5 years. I gave my wholehearted affection. Back then, I genuinely wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. I also firmly believed we were bound to become each other's one and only someday. But unfortunately, in the end, I almost became the man she kept outside her relationship, and I had no clue about it. With all my sincere feelings, in the end, it was all just for the dog. Mrs. Yi noticed how down I was feeling. She patted me on the shoulder. What's done is done. What we fear the least is making mistakes. At worst, we can just start over. What we have in abundance is the ability to forgive mistakes. Hearing Mrs. Ye's comforting words, my mood finally eased a bit. Seeing this, the others quickly changed the subject, quickly took out the gift that had been prepared earlier. It was only then that I realized the things Mrs. Yi mentioned to me on the phone some time ago were not exaggerated in the slightest. They were even a bit understated. From the property deed to the keys, a thick stack topped with a long string of keys. The most noticeable thing was the diamond watch placed in the center, made of gold and diamonds. Each diamond was exceptionally large. Every detail reflects the extraordinary quality and value of this watch. Yet they still seemed to feel it wasn't enough. They tried to fill the table in front of me to the brim, as if they wouldn't be satisfied otherwise. Just as I was about to helplessly say there's no need, Auntie suddenly slapped the table. Her eyes lit up with excitement. Didn't Lianchen just break up? It just so happens that a friend's daughter recently returned to the country. My friend. I had been worried for a long time about her not having a boyfriend. Why don't you guys meet up? Just treat it as making a new friend. I was stunned and quickly waved my hand, saying I didn't need it. But Auntie didn't listen to my objections. She directly took out her phone and handed me a contact. I had seen that young girl before she went abroad. She was extremely beautiful. Even if there's no chance for something more, being just friends isn't a bad idea. It was hard to decline such warm hospitality. In the end, I agreed to my aunt's suggestion. I just didn't expect it. When I clicked on the contact my aunt sent me, I realized I already had that person as a friend. I clicked on their profile for a look. There was no note added. The profile picture was a crescent moon in a pitch-black background. The username was very simple, just 2 simple letters WS. I paused for a moment. I thought about it carefully for a long time. Still couldn't remember. When I added him as a friend, I didn't ask either. Casually turned off the phone screen. Anyway, all the answers will naturally come when we meet. Just as I was getting ready for a blind date with someone else. Meanwhile, Lu Ruyan finally made it back home. The sky was gradually getting darker. The villa was left without any lights on. He didn't notice the note stuck to the door. Just like usual, he entered the password. Once he finished entering it, as he was about to push the door open, he realized the door wouldn't budge. Feeling a bit puzzled, he looked up, and that's when he spotted the note stuck on the door. After all, this will eventually be Mr. Zhang's home. It's better to set the password as his birthday. Mr. Shang's home. Zhang Yida felt his heart suddenly skip a beat. Could it be that he knows something? But he has only met Zhang Yida once. No one else could have told him about this. How could he possibly know that he is going to marry Zhang Yida? Lu Ruyan hesitated for a moment. She entered Zhang Yida's birthday. The villa gate opened with a soft creak. With the lights on, the villa felt completely empty. He instinctively called out for Aiken. His voice echoed throughout the villa, but no one ever responded. Only then did he suddenly remember. I went to Huqing 2 days ago. I rarely leave him for such a long time. Most of the time, I'm usually the one waiting for him to come home. Or rather, ever since we started living together. Except for this one time. In the past, every time he came home, I would always wait for him at home. Thinking about this, a sudden unease rose in Lu Ruyan's heart. She suddenly felt an emptiness inside. Am I actually serious about this? But on second thought, she quickly dismissed the thought from her mind. How could this be possible? I love him so much. It's probably just because over the past few days, he's spent less time with me, so I let my mind wander a bit, and accidentally figured out his connection with Zhang Yida, but I'll always end up going back to him. By then, all he has to do is coax me a little and everything will be fine. Thinking about it this way, he pressed his fingers against his temple. He lifted his foot and walked toward the living room. It seems like he'll have to give me a call later, to ask me when I'll be back, and have a proper talk with me. But as he walked into the living room, the call hadn't been made yet. His attention was instantly drawn to a stack of items on the living room table. That caught his eye. Lu Ruyan's steps didn't pause for a moment. Move over there more quickly. Sit down on the couch quickly. Picked up that stack of something unknown, the pile of paper documents. He felt a faint sense of anticipation. Am I handing something over? Let him take a look. He said I was just acting out of frustration. Why would I really want to leave him? A faint smile appeared on his lips, but he froze as soon as he saw what was written on the paper. The topmost sheet of paper had nothing on it except one line of handwritten text. There was absolutely nothing else. Lu Ruyan immediately recognized it as my handwriting. It stood out on the surface of the paper. If you don't look closely at what's written, you'd simply find it pleasing to the eye. But it was precisely these words I wrote myself. That felt like a heavy blow. It struck heavily upon his heart. Congratulations on your wedding, Lu Ruyan. It's over between us. He seemed to hear a ringing in his ears. His mind went completely blank. He carefully looked it over several more times. Only then did he finally confirm he hadn't misread it. I just wrote congratulations on your wedding. It's over between us. I don't want him anymore. You must be joking. How could I possibly not want him? His hand unconsciously flipped to that page and tore it out, crumpling it into a ball, and throwing it into the distance. It was because of this action that the content on the second page became visible. It was a screenshot of a chat log that was printed out. The record started from the day the friend request was accepted. I did not save Lu Ruyan as a contact note. Only the person's profile picture and username could be seen. He looked very familiar, because he also had it. That person's friend. It was Zhang Yida. The first message was sent by Zhang Yida half a month ago. He scrolled down page by page. His heart sank deeper and deeper. I heard you're the one Ruyan is keeping outside. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zhang Yida. I am her fiancé. I advise you to be sensible. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, when Ruyan and I get married, and you get kicked out of the villa, it won't look good for you. With just one word from me, Ruyan will still come back to me. Tomorrow we are meeting the parents. What happens when we actually get married? What will you even mean to him then? Just a lover he keeps in the shadows. So what if he loves you? Now he has already kissed me. How much longer do you think it will be before we end up in bed? Sometimes there are even a few photos mixed in, or maybe even a short video clip. Pictures of them trying on wedding outfits together. Photos of them picking out engagement rings together. There are photos of them choosing the wedding venue together. And that video was where I clicked and captured a frame. The most iconic moment in the entire video. Also the one Zhang Yida wanted me to see the most. It shows him and Zhang Yida, in the presence of both families and a group of friends, sharing a deeply emotional kiss. The tension in my mind suddenly snapped. An unspeakable panic rose within me. His face turned a shade paler, yet he kept muttering under his breath, I don't believe it. 3 simple words. He got up and ran toward the direction of the bedroom upstairs, but his legs seemed to give out a little beneath him. As he made his way up the stairs, he accidentally missed a step. There was a loud thud, and he tumbled all the way down the staircase. The sharp pain brought him back to his senses a little. He gritted his teeth and grabbed the stair railing to stand up again. Limping, he started heading back upstairs. This time, maybe because he was walking slower. Nothing unexpected happened again. He made it back to the bedroom without any trouble. At a glance, he noticed that only his belongings were left in the room. Everything related to me had completely disappeared. Even the items on both nightstands. The photo album that used to hold pictures of the two of them. Now the photos inside have completely disappeared. Only the lonely photo frame remains in its original spot. Lu Ruyan seemed to realize something. Panic flashed in her eyes once again. She opened the wardrobe. Then she pulled open the drawers, taking her belongings out. After that, those places were left completely empty. The bedroom and the bathroom. She searched every corner of the study and the entire villa. Every possible place where something related to us might be kept. But she couldn't find a single thing connected to me. Thinking back to the time not long ago when I suddenly said I wanted to do a deep clean, and then threw away all the items that symbolized our relationship. At this moment, he finally understood why I did what I did back then. I was so ruthless, leaving him with no memories at all, not even a trace of our past. The unease in my heart was about to take shape, but he still couldn't bring himself to believe it. We had been together for a full 5 years. I loved him so deeply. I can't believe I could be so cruel as to abandon him. He couldn't believe it himself. He saw it with his own eyes. His mind was entirely focused on confronting me for answers. He didn't even realize what he was doing. When he came to his senses again, he had already returned to the living room. The phone was already emitting a long series of beeps. The ringtone went on for quite a while, before the call was finally picked up on the other end. Maybe it was because it was already late at night. I felt like I had been woken up from a deep sleep, and didn't even check to see who was calling. I just answered it right away. My voice still carried a hint of drowsy confusion. "Hello, who is this?" "Ah, Chen, is me." He struggled a bit to speak, afraid I might mistake the call as spam and hang up. "Where are you? I want to meet you. And what about our photo together?" The moment he started to speak, my mind was already completely alert. I lifted my phone. When I saw the name Ruyan on the screen, I let out a heavy sigh. I miscalculated and forgot to block his contact information. During the moment of my silence, Lu Ruyan persistently called out a few more times over there, my name, which inevitably made me feel a wave of annoyance. Miss Lu is about to start a family after all. Appropriate boundaries should still be maintained. Thinking about those photos, when Mr. Zhang moves into the villa, he would probably be upset to see those things, so I burned them. As for meeting up, I don't think there's any need for us to meet. You're about to marry someone else, so what's the point of meeting your ex-boyfriend? When I said all the photos had already been burned, Lu Ruyan felt like her heart was bleeding, but what hurt her even more was my straightforward rejection. Aiken, I never agreed to the breakup between Zhang Yida and me. It's not what you think. The one I truly love is only you. How could you just abandon me so easily like that? Speaking until the very end. He could even hear the slight choke in my voice. It made me fall silent for a moment as well. I rarely see him cry in the 5 years we've been together except this time. I've only seen him cry once. It was the time we were in that car accident together years ago, even though he was actually the one who was more seriously injured. When he woke up and saw the unavoidable wounds on my body, he still broke down crying uncontrollably, showing no trace of the decisive and ruthless image he has in the business world. If at that moment, someone from a partner company working with the Lu family happened to walk by and saw how he looked at that time, they would probably be completely shocked. This was the second time. I have never denied it. In the past, Lu Ruyan's love for me was genuine, but it's precisely because I've seen how Lu Ruyan loved me that later, when he used the excuse of family pressure to marry, and agreed to the arranged marriage with Zhang Yida, I could keenly sense that his heart had started to shift. He might still love me deeply, but I was no longer the only one he loved, so I became the one he chose after weighing his options. The first person to be abandoned, whether it was him making the decision himself, wanting to secretly keep me as a mistress outside, or later, during the car accident, instinctively saving Zhang Yida first. I was never his first choice, so at this moment, even hearing his choking voice, hearing his sorrow, my heart remains completely unmoved. Lu Ruyan, we just broke up. Breaking up doesn't require mutual agreement, and if we're talking about abandonment, wasn't it you who gave up on our relationship first, and now you're claiming I abandoned you? Since we've come to this point, let me make it clear to you, we are already broken up, so please don't disturb my life anymore. Every word I said made her heartache even more. Lu Ruyan's pain grew deeper with each word I spoke. She moved her lips slightly. Her eyes were filled with sorrow. Just as Aiken managed to call out my name, the phone suddenly emitted the beeping sound of a call being disconnected. She froze for a moment and tried to call back, but then she realized the call could no longer go through. At that moment, she had been blocked. Lu Ruyan attempted other ways to get in touch, only to realize that every message sent was marked with a red exclamation mark. He slumped onto the couch in despair. His gaze fell back on that stack of documents. He stared intently at that pile of papers. A mix of sadness and anger surged within him. He grabbed that stack of papers in one swift motion and forcefully scattered them off the table. The sheets floated unsteadily in the air one by one, amid the rustling sounds all around. In the end, they drifted down onto the table and the couch, and also onto the floor. Zhang Yida, it's all Zhang Yida's fault. If he hadn't brought this matter right in front of me, how could I have left so abruptly and decisively? The last sheet of paper fell in front of him, and on it was Zhang Yida. The final boastful words he sent to me. What does it matter if he loves you? Now he has already kissed me. How much longer do you think it will be before we end up in bed? His gaze was deep and intense. He stared fixedly at that line of text. After a long silence, he suddenly let out a mocking laugh. In his lifeless eyes, a sudden chill flashed across them. Zhang Yida, I've told you a long time ago. The only person I will ever like is Aiken. Who gave you the nerve to mess with Aiken? Since you're so eager to get married, how about I give you a big gift instead? I have no idea what Lu Ruyan is thinking. I kept a blank expression. I moved the number labeled as Ruyan to the blacklist, and at the same time, I blocked all of their contact information. Then I placed the phone back where it was, and fell into a deep sleep. That night, I slept unusually well, because the next day, today is the day I report to Xingqi Group, as the newly appointed CEO parachuted into the role. I woke up very early. I am confident I can establish myself in this position, but at least on my first day in office, I won't give anyone a chance to criticize me. Xingqi Group is essentially a family business of the Yi family. It has already been around for over a century, and its business spans a wide range of industries: clothing brands, high-end jewelry, perfumes, handbags, beauty products, skincare, and household essentials. Xingqi not only dabbles in these areas, it even manages to stand out as a leader. In fact, at the very beginning, I initially planned to start with one of Xingqi's brands, but both my parents insisted that they believed I was capable of being Xingqi's CEO, and they forcibly pushed me into this position. On the very day I took office, the news of a young and handsome CEO joining Xingqi Group spread across the entire circle. The message quickly circulated throughout the entire community. At that time, Lu Ruyan was hanging out with her friends, drinking away her sorrows at the biggest club in Haicheng. Word got out that I had learned about her plans to marry someone else. I broke up with her in a fit of anger. Nobody paid much attention to this matter. She was just unable to accept the reality for a moment, that she would only be able to follow me without any status in the future. It was just a breakup out of frustration. I heard she even quit her job a while ago. Don't worry, once she runs out of money, she'll come back sooner or later. Otherwise, who else is going to fill the holes left by her gambling dad and seriously ill mom? I've seen plenty of guys like him who rely on their looks. Back then she was just aiming to climb up the social ladder with you. Now that her dreams have shattered overnight, it's normal that she can't accept it. If it doesn't work out, you can try to comfort him again after a while. Yeah, considering his status, how could he possibly become your husband? He was just daydreaming all along. Living this kind of life by your side was something he couldn't even dare to imagine before. The mocking voices aimed at me came one after another, and they never seemed to stop. Hearing this, Lu Ruyan, who had been silently drinking away his sorrows, even found it a bit grating on the ears. His face was dark and gloomy. He suddenly hurled the wineglass in his hand with great force. The crisp sound of glass shattering echoed along with the scattering shards, making the noisy atmosphere quiet down a bit. Suddenly, his cold, icy voice broke the silence as he asked if it was enough. Everyone else just stared at him in a daze, unable to respond. No one could figure out why he was so angry. In the end, it was still the one closest to him. Wang Tianmei frowned slightly. She was the first to speak, breaking the eerie silence. Between the lines, she still didn't take his temper seriously, only assuming he was annoyed by their noise. Let out a couple of chuckles. Her gaze carried a hint of teasing as she looked at him. What's wrong, Sister Yen? Still feeling upset? We know you care about him a bit more. Don't worry about it. How could he possibly let go of someone as valuable as you? Do you believe it? In less than 2 weeks, he'll definitely come back to apologize to you. By then, it'll all be up to you to decide. But the moment the words were spoken, he lifted his head and looked at Wang Tianmei. His gaze was sharp and fierce. His voice was cold and emotionless. Wang Tianmei froze for a moment at the apology. She couldn't figure out what he meant. Then his voice echoed again, telling her to apologize to him. It wasn't until that moment that Wang Tianmei finally understood. He was really upset because they had belittled me, and that's why he caused all this trouble. Why is Sister Bian so worked up about this? And honestly, the girls weren't wrong either. He's just a poor guy trying to get close to you. Isn't it all just about the money? Back then when we mentioned it, didn't you stay silent and never deny it? When Wang Tianmei said that, Lu Ruyan suddenly froze for a moment. The sharpness in her eyes faded away, and finally turned into confusion. So that's how it is. They had said things like this many times before. It turns out that in the past, when I encountered situations like this, did he always choose to let it slide? He searched through his memories, trying to find evidence to argue back, only to realize that Wang Tianmei was right. This wasn't the first time they had belittled me like this, and regardless of whether I was present or not, when they spoke in French, he always chose to stay silent. Only when they say it directly to my face, do they try to stop it a little, but such attempts to stop it, how could that ever count as evidence? That's just him putting on an act in front of me, because he has no other choice. His past apocalyptic thoughts are what truly reflect his inner feelings. Thinking about this, he suddenly found himself at a loss for words overnight. All he could do was keep drinking one glass after another, pouring more alcohol into himself again and again. But at the same time, a glimmer of hope also rose in Lu Ruyan's heart. Yes, I still have a father who gambles, and also a mother who's seriously ill, and now I've also lost my job. Maybe after some time, will I really end up going back to her again? At this moment, the others didn't want to risk provoking her anymore. They had already moved on to a different topic. A new CEO was recently appointed to Xingqi Group. Did you hear anything about it? I heard it's the eldest son of the Yi family. He hasn't been in the spotlight much these past few years. Apparently, he's been away on his own trying to gain experience. Now that he's back, it seems they immediately handed Xingqi Group over to him. After all, the Yi family only has young Master Yi as their sole heir. Those properties will surely end up in his hands eventually. Even if someone is brought in unexpectedly, they would still have been trained well in advance, and could take up the position right away. You see, even with the same last name Yi, the gap between people can still be so vast. Lu Ruyan wasn't interested in this topic at all, so she didn't join the conversation. She simply sat alone in the corner. The number of empty bottles in front of him kept increasing. He wasn't paying attention, so naturally, he didn't catch what they said about the past few years. The eldest son of the Yi family had been gaining experience outside, and only recently returned home, so he hadn't thought about it. Maybe when I left, the note I left for him, the words written on it were all true. By the time the event ended, it was already late at night. Lu Ruyan had too much to drink. Her steps became unsteady. Wang Tianmei and her group saw that she could hardly stand properly. They really didn't feel comfortable letting her go back alone, so they ended up calling Zhang Yida. By the time he rushed over, only Wang Tianmei was left by Lu Ruyan's side. When she saw him arrive, she quickly handed Lu Ruyan over to him. Sister-in-law Yan Jia, I'll leave her to you. Make sure you take good care of Sister Yan Jia and see her home safely. Remember to be responsible and get her back home properly. As he spoke, he threw her a knowing look that said you understand, then grabbed his car keys and walked straight out of the private room, leaving behind Lu Ruyan, who was completely passed out, and Zhang Yida, whose face was bright red. Instead of taking her back to the Lu family villa, he drove straight to his own villa. Finally made it into the room, letting her fall onto the soft bed. He thoughtfully wiped her face for her, then carefully lay down beside her. Ruyan, we're going to get married anyway. It's just happening a little earlier than planned. The woman beside him. It was unclear if she truly heard what he said, but she actually buried her head in the crook of his neck. Her warm breath gently spread across him, fell against the side of his neck, making his body shudder involuntarily. The temperature in the room seemed to rise along with the growing intimacy in the air, but the next moment, the name he called out once again managed to pull his heart, which was about to leap out of his chest, back into place in an instant. Aiken made no further movements. He simply held him tightly in his arms. It feels like the moment he lets go, I would disappear all over again. Zhang Yida quietly lay in his arms, making no other movements, but a trace of viciousness flashed in his eyes. Yi Liangchen, always Yi Liangchen. If only I could vanish from this world completely, it would be so much better the next day. Lu Ruyan woke up from her hangover, feeling an intense headache. I was about to raise my hand to press it, but suddenly realized there seemed to be someone in my arms. He lowered his head, only to see the top of a head with delicately curled hair. His mind hadn't processed the name yet, but he called out instinctively. As soon as the word "ah" left his lips, he noticed something felt off. I am clearly still in Huqing and haven't returned yet. Not to mention, Just a couple of days ago, I resolutely broke up with him. How could I possibly be sharing a bed with him now? Besides, I have never gotten a perm before. A sudden sense of foreboding rose in my heart. With a forceful grip of his hand, he shoved the person away with great force. Zhang Yida, who was sound asleep, was pushed off the bed. He fell to the ground with a loud thud, and he was fully awakened. As soon as he looked up, he saw Lu Ruyan with a sullen expression. "What are you doing here?" His voice was cold and emotionless. It made him feel incredibly wrong deep down. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. His eyes instantly filled with tears. The tears in his eyes seemed on the verge of falling but stayed in place, making him appear even more pitiful. But if the person standing in front of him right now were someone else, they might actually feel sorry for him upon seeing him like this. Or perhaps, if Lu Ruyan hadn't broken up with me yet, maybe she wouldn't treat him so indifferently. But right now, the person seeing him in this state is the one who saw how he provoked me, the Lu Ruyan who caused me to break up with him. Zhang Yida noticed he was still unresponsive. His expression even turned a bit darker, and quickly suppressed the grievance in his heart. "Explaining that you got drunk last night. You won't let me go to your villa, so I have no choice but to take you to my place." Hearing this, Lu Ruyan finally realized that she had been too angry just now, and didn't notice that this room wasn't hers. Her expression softened a little, but the caution in her eyes towards her didn't fade at all. "Then how did you end up sleeping next to me?" As soon as she finished speaking, she noticed a blush spreading across her face. "I originally planned to settle you in and then go take care of things. But you held on to me and wouldn't let go." And he had that look of wanting to say something but hesitating. It made his gaze suddenly deepen. Not knowing what those words meant, he believed it to some extent. Zhang Yida only saw him suddenly stand up. Before leaving the room, he just gave him a cold glance. "Zhang Yida, put away your little schemes. We will get married. It's just because you're obedient. Easy to deal with my parents, that's all. If it happens again, I don't mind replacing you." Zhang Yida's face turned grim. Watching his departing figure, almost gritted his teeth in frustration. The Yi family of Hucheng. I looked at the phone. Another unknown number lit up on the screen. For the first time, I felt Lu Ruyan was like a clingy bandage that you just can't get rid of, making people feel annoyed. A while ago, after I blocked him, there was a long period of peace. Recently, though, I have no idea what got into him again. I blocked one number, and he just switched to another number to keep calling me. I hung up again. After blocking this number, the endless ringing of the phone finally stopped. I let out a soft breath, turned my phone to silent mode, and placed it face down on the desk. Only then did I finally have the time to carefully review the document in front of me. This project is the first major one I took on since joining Xingqi. If I can successfully complete this project perfectly, I will have solidified my position among the senior management at Xingqi, and that would mean I've firmly established my footing. At that time, I didn't hesitate to take on the project, but it wasn't until after taking it on that I realized. To my surprise, someone named Lu Ruyan was suddenly added to the list of bidders. I'm not afraid to face Lu Ruyan head-on, but I find it a bit puzzling. What exactly is Lu Ruyan's intention behind this move? The Lu family's foundation has always been rooted in Haicheng. He suddenly got involved in the city defense project. Could it be because of me? Thinking about this, I couldn't help but let out a chuckle. Does Lu Ruyan really think acting like this appears deeply affectionate? Planning a wedding with one man, while entangling herself with another man at the same time, balancing two relationships so brazenly, and still having the audacity to say something to me, that he and Zhang Yida aren't what I think they are. Even if he truly doesn't love Zhang Yida, so what does it matter? In the end, Zhang Yida agreed to it himself, and chose his own partner to marry. Even if I'm not the heir to a billionaire, he still shouldn't have taken it upon himself to turn me from his official boyfriend into someone he keeps as a secret lover. The competition for this bid was really fierce. Not only Changqi but also the Lu family and Gucheng participated. Most of the top-tier elite families got involved. Of course, people like Lu Ruyan, who came from another city, were not an exception. It's not that there weren't any, because there were too many people. The organizers decided to host a banquet. They invited all the groups bidding for the event. When Auntie delivered the invitation letter, she gave me a mysterious wink. I noticed the meaningful look in her eyes. I thought I might have missed some important information. Looking at her with a confused expression. "Is there anything else you need, Aunt?" When Auntie heard what I said, she immediately shot me a sideways glance. Noticing that I seemed to have completely forgotten what we discussed a few days ago, forgetting it all without a trace, she decided not to keep me guessing any longer, patted me on the shoulder and exclaimed, "Oh my, a while ago, didn't we say that you'd meet my friend's daughter? She's been really busy lately and couldn't make time. Isn't she also attending this bidding event? So you two can go together." Hearing it was a matchmaking thing, I was at a loss for words for a moment, and considering the meeting setting, I couldn't help but feel both amused and helpless. "Aunt, if we're all going to bid this time, wouldn't that make us competitors? Having competitors meet for matchmaking at the bidding site? You really are the first to think of that." I followed up my own words, and gave a thumbs up in agreement. Auntie didn't seem to care about it at all. "What's the big deal? Opponents on the field aren't necessarily opponents off the field. Besides, if they meet beforehand, using the beauty trap isn't a good idea." I did some digging. Even though that girl has never been in a relationship before, she did have feelings for a boy once, and I heard he happens to be your type. I froze for a moment at those words, and then I remembered last time. Ever since I found out I was already friends with that person, we skipped the step of sending a friend request. Later on, I just kept forgetting to chat. Naturally, I ended up putting the whole blind date thing out of my mind. It wasn't until Auntie reminded me again that I finally remembered that person. The person I like and I share the same type. We had already been friends for a while. Could it be that this girl added me as a friend in the first place because of this? And that's why she sent me a friend request. I frowned slightly, but my feelings for her cooled off a bit. These days it seems she doesn't really seem like she doesn't want a boyfriend. It's probably just because she hasn't let go of that person who holds a place in her heart. In this kind of situation, if I approach her myself, would that mean I'm rushing to be a stand-in for someone else? I didn't mention this to Aunt G. After all, my aunt doesn't know about this either. I just gave a perfunctory smile, accepted the invitation. Regarding the meeting ceremony mentioned by Aunt, there wasn't much of a feeling about it. It was just beyond my expectations. I thought my silence should be taken as a polite refusal. In Aunt Ye's perspective, it unexpectedly turned into consent. On the day of the bidding, they directly had someone drive a car and wait outside the Yi family's villa. "Hello, Mr. Yi." A woman in a Chanel-style outfit noticed me step out. She quickly approached me, but I simply stood still in front of her, without moving another step. "I haven't asked for your name yet." He paused, lowering his gaze to hide the disappointment in his eyes. After a moment of silence, he finally responded. "My last name is Bai Ningbing." I received his answer. I didn't keep arguing with him any longer. When he motioned for me to get in the car again, I obediently got into the passenger seat. It wasn't until the car door closed. I wasn't sure if I was angry or what. I stayed silent and didn't speak to him again. I stared at the scenery outside the car window, but unconsciously kept repeating the name Bai Ningbing in my head. I didn't have any strong impression of this name. I just found it strangely familiar for some reason. I turned my head quietly to glance at him, noticing he was focused solely on driving. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't figure out how to start the conversation. After hesitating for a moment, I ended up saying nothing. The car quickly came to a stop in front of the banquet hall. Bai Ningbing and I got out of the car. I initially planned to head straight into the venue and walked forward for a short distance. Yet he continued to stand behind me. I turned around. What I saw was the serious expression on his face. "What's wrong?" I asked with some confusion. He pressed his lips together. Then he lifted his gaze and looked straight at me. Others usually walk into the venue arm in arm with their partners. For some reason, there was no particular expression on Bai Ningbing's face, but somehow I felt something inexplicable from his expression. I noticed a hint of grievance. I cleared my throat lightly. I walked back with a bit of helplessness. I took his arm. We headed together towards the banquet hall. As we approached the entrance, I couldn't hold back and asked out loud, "Have we met before?" The moment he heard my question, it would be a lie to say Bai Ningbing wasn't disappointed. I honestly don't remember him at all. Just when I thought he wouldn't answer that question, he finally broke the dead silence. "We were classmates back in high school, but I was always the one sitting in the corner." He was withdrawn and dull, always the one most easily overlooked in the class. Even his parents were often busy with work for years, and had no time to pay attention to him. Back then, Bai Ningbing was always lost in his own world every single day, and when classmates tried to start a conversation with him, his reaction was lukewarm. So even though he didn't look ordinary at all, not many people could really remember him. Just like how I, who was now by his side, he had liked me for a long time, ever since the first time I approached him. Unlike others who only exchanged a casual greeting with him, and then never kept in touch again, other classmates were not the same. Back then I wouldn't ignore him because of his silence. I would never skip over him directly, no matter what the issue was. If there was anything I would always sincerely ask for every classmate's opinion, including his. I became the person who appeared in his life the most, and also the only light in his life. But later on, he resented his own cowardice and silence countless times, which only led him to add me as a friend through the single piece of contact information from our yearbook when we graduated. That one entry in the classmate directory was the only connection he used to send me a friend request. But he never once initiated a conversation with me, because he always felt that someone as ordinary as him wasn't good enough for me. Later on, while studying abroad, he began undergoing therapy. It was during this time that he asked about me for the first time, and the news he received was that I was already in a relationship with someone else. At that time, he thought again, as long as I'm happy. He didn't mind being just a passerby in my life forever. He was already on the verge of giving up, but it was at that moment he found out that I had broken up with my girlfriend. So he came back, until this very moment. After hearing Bai Ningbing's explanation, I finally uncovered it in the corners of my memory. I came across memories connected to him, just thinking about that quiet and reserved classmate from back then, and now seeing her attending banquets, discussing business deals without any sign of discomfort. Bai Bingbing, I still find it a bit hard to believe. I couldn't help but exclaim, "It's been a few years since we last met. You've changed a lot. You look even more beautiful now." Hearing my final words, she couldn't help but blush at the tips of her ears. The banquet hall was bustling with activity. Many people had shown up for the bidding event. The two had just entered the banquet hall not long ago, when another man and woman walked into the banquet hall. I only noticed the noise, and instinctively turned to look toward the entrance of the hall. But unexpectedly, with just one glance, I met eyes directly with the person who just arrived. Yi Liangchen and Aiken exclaimed in unison. It caught the attention of others in the banquet hall. Everyone's gaze turned toward the entrance of the banquet hall, in that direction. Feeling forced to endure the attention, I frowned slightly. The Liu family and Zhang family are among the top elite families in Haicheng, so why are Lu Ruyan and Zhang Yida's attendance at a banquet in Hucheng causing such a commotion? They don't seem to carry the poise and etiquette of prominent families. Terrified of being associated with the two of them, I paid no attention to the two people behind me. I turned around and linked arms with Bai Yunbing, quickly heading toward the banquet hall. Lu Ruyan, standing behind me, was initially shocked to see me here, then saw me walking away hand in hand with the woman beside me. For a moment, his anger clouded his judgment, making him completely disregard Zhang Yida standing right next to him, and he hurriedly rushed after us. "Who is Chen? How did you end up with him?" When Zhang Yida hurriedly caught up, what he heard was just the beginning. He quickly caught up to me, and grabbed my wrist in one swift motion. Lu Ruyan questioned me like this while gripping my wrist tightly. Zhang Yida didn't say a word. His eyes kept moving back and forth between the two of us holding hands. He stared at us silently for a long while. His face was filled with sarcasm. What else could it possibly be? It must be that after breaking up with you, he found someone else. Otherwise, given his status, how could he possibly get into the bidding banquet hall? He sounded unusually confident when he said it. He completely failed to notice Lu Ruyan's face had already darkened, and the strange looks people around him were giving. The Yi family is the wealthiest family in the city. As the only son of the richest man, I still need to rely on others just to get into the banquet hall. Where exactly did these two unfamiliar people come from? If even the richest man's only son has to depend on others to join the bidding, then who else would possibly qualify? But with some drama unfolding, no one bothered to warn them. Just as I furrowed my brow in the crowd, Bai Ningbing beside me was already wearing a cold expression, reached out and grabbed Lu Ruyan's wrist. The very next moment, Lu Ruyan felt a powerful force coming from her wrist. The immense strength might have caught her off guard as she didn't expect Bai Ningbing to act suddenly. She was unprepared for it, and nearly cried out in pain. Even seeing her in this state, he still refused to let go, holding onto my hand tightly. Bai Ningbing spoke in a voice devoid of any emotion. It came along with it. A cold and sharp voice echoed, made Lu Ruyan shiver uncontrollably. He lifted his head to look at the woman in front of him, but his expression turned even darker. Noticed his current embarrassment. Zhang Yida couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. Immediately pointed at Bai Ningbing and started scolding her. "Do you even know who we are? How dare you treat us like this? Believe it or not, I'll make sure you can't get away with this." Although Lu Ruyan didn't say a word, the trace of ruthlessness that flickered in his eyes, along with the fact that from beginning to end, he never once stopped Zhang Yida's nonsensical chatter, made it clear what he was thinking at that moment was no different from Zhang Yida's thoughts. I let out a mocking laugh. then gently patted Bai Ningbing's hand, to signal him to let go. Although Bai Ningbing was a bit reluctant, he still loosened his grip when he saw me nodding at him, and obediently let go of his hand. Seeing how we reacted to this, Lu Ruyan's expression finally softened a little. Even Zhang Yida thought we were scared, and had backed down because of it. He struck a pose as if he were deeply in love, and was just about to speak. But the next moment I removed the brooch I was wearing, thrust straight toward Lu Ruyan's hand. Lu Ruyan remained completely composed, convinced that I wouldn't actually make a move. After all, I loved her so much. How could I possibly bear to hurt her? It must have just been for show, trying to scare her, perhaps. Ah Chen, I know. But just as he started to speak, the brooch had already stabbed deeply into his hand. The sudden jolt made his hand instantly lose strength, causing him to let go of my hand. I took the opportunity to step back, avoiding Zhang Yida, who was just about to hit me. Then, with a loud slap, it landed squarely on his face. A clear handprint instantly appeared on Zhang Yida's face. A distinct slap mark was left behind. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He never imagined I would actually dare to make a move. Yi Liangchen. Unlike his frantic and hysterical behavior, my expression remained calm and indifferent, as if I had just greeted Zhang Yida instead of slapping him across the face. It was like I simply said hello to them. I casually tossed a tissue to Bai Ningbing, then slowly picked up another one, and wiped my wrist with it. My gaze toward them was cold and filled with disdain, with a condescending look that carried a hint of mockery. Do you think you are someone really important? The sarcasm in the corner of my mouth made Lu Ruyan's eyes turn red with anger, but all that fury gradually cooled with my next sentence. 2 people here for the auction, yet they don't even know who their competition is. The rival in the bidding, Lu Ruyan and Zhang Yida. Thinking back to the information they received, take a closer look at the person in front of you. Finally connected Bai Ningbing with the person described in the documents. That individual, the second daughter of the Bai family in whose city, second only to the Yi family, the wealthiest, associated with both the Lu and Zhang families, although considered top tier in High City, still couldn't compare to the Yi and Bai families. It was hardly significant in front of the Yi and Bai families. At this moment, other than saying the words let go at the very beginning, Bai Ningbing, who had always been reserved and quiet, finally spoke up again. Instead of asking me if I know who you are, why don't you ask the person next to you first? Who we are. The words we are instantly left Lu Ruyan and Zhang Yida stunned in place, completely frozen where they stood. So what he means is, it's not just him. I'm here to participate in the bidding as well. The other bidders clearly don't match up with me. The only one left is none other than the sole heir of the richest man in whose city, young Master Yi. Realizing this, Lu Ruyan and Zhang Yida suddenly turned deathly pale. Looking back at the crowd around them, they saw everyone wearing an expression as if they were watching a good show. At that moment, the two finally understood. They were the ones being watched by everyone. Lu Ruyan's face alternated between pale and flushed. They didn't even care that they were originally there to participate in the auction. Embarrassed, they hurriedly left the banquet hall. Seeing him leave, Zhang Yida gave me a resentful glance, and then quickly followed him out in a panic. I noticed the look of jealousy in his eyes, but I didn't take it to heart. After all, Zhang Yida has been hostile toward me for a long time. Zhang Yida's reliance is nothing more than the Zhang family, and the seemingly unattainable marriage alliance with Lu Ruyan. Lu Ruyan was willing to consider a marriage proposal with me while she still had feelings for me. She agreed to a marriage alliance with Zhang Yida. When the benefits Zhang Yida could offer her are almost entirely gone, she would naturally abandon Zhang Yida and choose someone else. As for the Zhang family, I wouldn't even need to take action. Once the Zhang family realizes that the person Zhang Yida offended is the Yi family, the Zhang family would be the first to give up on him. But at this moment, what matters most to me is this auction. Just as the drama over here was finally wrapping up, the organizers finally made their appearance. He casually glanced at the two who had already gotten into their car and fled in a hurry. He didn't say anything, he simply, in his mind, marked them both with an X. The auction was fiercely competitive, but in the end, I still managed to secure the project for myself. On the way back, it was still Bai Ningbing who drove me home. The car kept moving steadily forward. This time around, it was Bai Ningbing who broke the silence first. Do you still have feelings for him? His question caught me off guard. It took me a while to realize who he was talking about. I immediately felt speechless. Where did he even get that idea from? I thought you agreed to the blind date knowing he'd show up. So you dragged me into this to spite him. After all, when we first met, my attitude was far from friendly. Even though later my attitude toward Lu Ruyan wasn't exactly kind, he still couldn't help but wonder, since I don't remember, that when we first met, he had some slight resistance toward me. Then why would he still agree to the blind date? My aunt mentioned it, so I came to check it out. But I don't have feelings for one person while getting involved with another. I don't have the habit of engaging with someone else while having feelings for someone. My only expectation for a partner is loyalty. That's why I hold myself to the same standards. Maybe it was because of what happened at the banquet. It brought the two of them closer together. I was answering his questions with a lot of patience at that moment. The two were having an on and off conversation. The car quickly came to a stop in front of the Yi family's villa. I waved my hand at him, as a gesture of farewell, then turned around and walked toward the villa. Just as I reached the entrance, my footsteps suddenly came to a halt. I turned back and saw his car still parked in the same spot, showing no indication of being started. I walked back to his side, and the car window rolled down at just the right moment. He blinked. With a slightly confused and puzzled look, he glanced at me. "Is there anything else you need, sir? We are all classmates. There's no need to be so formal. You can just call me Liangchen from now on." Hearing the tact in his way of addressing me, I gave a slight smile, but the reason I agreed to the blind date was only because of my aunt. There was never really an intention to start a new relationship. So, for now, we will just continue interacting as friends. After saying that, I waved at him again, truly as if greeting a regular friend. "Be careful on your way back." Watched as my figure gradually disappeared behind the villa's main gate. A faint smile appeared on his face. Bai Ningbing had already waited for so many years. Nature doesn't mind waiting a little longer. Just like I said, it's just being friends for now. Not to mention, going from strangers to friends is already a step up. He was already quite satisfied with that. That night, unlike the two sleepless people in Haicheng, both Bai Ningbing and I slept really well. Until early the next morning, I was woken up by the constant ringing of my phone. Groggily opening my eyes, I realized it was my own social media account that had been bombarded to the point of crashing. The constant dinging of notifications kept going off. A casual glance showed nothing but malicious insults. Right at that moment, a call came in from a phone number in Haicheng. Answering it, I realized it was a friend from my years in Haicheng. "Liangchen, have you seen the comments online? Those people are really just following the crowd, believing whatever others say without question. Don't tell me the richest heir is being someone else's third wheel. How can such rumors even spread? You better clear this up immediately. Make sure those who slander you all face the punishment they deserve." Zhongyan barely had time to catch his breath. Words poured out of his mouth like a rapid-fire cannon. His hurried breathing fully showcased his righteous indignation. After hearing his explanation, I finally understood the whole story. It turns out that after Zhang Yida returned to Haicheng yesterday, he still couldn't swallow the anger from the banquet. Relying on the engagement he had with Lu Ruyan, he twisted the facts, claiming that I interfered in his relationship with Lu Ruyan. He even released evidence from after their engagement, showing that Lu Ruyan and I were living together. Initially, netizens didn't believe it either. The only son of the wealthiest man getting involved in someone else's family. But Zhang Yida went ahead and released evidence. Even Lu Ruyan's friends came forward to testify, claiming that I interrupted the conversation. And just like that, late-night gossiping netizens believed it to be true. They immediately found my account and started bombarding it relentlessly. With a family so wealthy, didn't anyone teach her about having moral boundaries? You shouldn't interfere in someone else's family, still acting as if you're loyal to just one person. It's truly a moral downfall. Absolutely shameful behavior. Boycott Yi Liangchen. Reject the arrogance and abusive language. There are still those trying to take advantage of the chaos. They find my account and start spewing vulgar words. The language is incredibly obscene. It's simply unbearable to look at. Of course, there are also some rational netizens who mentioned that I should respond first, and at the very least, not believe only one person's side of the story, as comments like this are often biased. Most of the comments below are filled with the same kind of insults. "I'll take care of it. You forgot that I'm the only son of the richest man. The legal team of the corporation is no pushover. He wouldn't dare spread false rumors. He must have been prepared for it already. Be mentally prepared to accept the final outcome." I spoke with a tone full of confidence. Finally, I could breathe a sigh of relief. They said a few more comforting words to me. Only then did they end the call. After the call ended, I went back to the website again to see how far the situation had escalated. When I saw those malicious insults, it would be a lie to say I didn't feel a bit of anger. I don't quite understand it. In the past, they looked down on me. It was because they believed I came from a poor family, and that I wasn't worthy of Lu Ruyan. Now that my identity as the son of the richest man is known even to netizens, where do they get the audacity to team up with Zhang Yida and try to throw dirt on me? I kept a straight face and took screenshots of every single comment made online, saving all of them. At that moment, my phone started ringing again. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a while, but I ended up answering the call. Lianchen, are you doing okay now? Don't let those things online bother you. I know you didn't do those things, and there's no need to get upset about it. I believe in you. My in-laws are already taking care of this matter. If there's anything you need my help with, feel free to reach out to me. I could hear the gentleness and urgency in Bai Ningbing's voice. I only felt like the weight pressing on my chest had completely vanished. I let out a soft chuckle, then said, it's alright. I'm not that fragile. It's nothing but a mere rumor. I can handle it on my own. I seem to be in a good mood. Bai Ningbing finally felt relieved. He didn't want to end the call, but he had no idea what else to say at that moment. The air suddenly fell silent. After a long silence, even through the phone screen it felt like I could hear his soft and steady breathing. In the end, it was me who broke the silence. Bai Ningbing, thank you. Even though I wouldn't be affected by those baseless rumors, I still appreciate your concern. In my heart, I silently added one last sentence. Then I quickly ended the call. Meanwhile, Bai Ningbing, holding the now disconnected phone, could only feel how fast time was passing, wishing that moment could last forever. That's how we stayed on opposite ends of the phone, in the stillness of complete silence, listening to each other's soft breathing. And that was more than enough. When Ye's parents first heard about me being cyberbullied, they were so angry they started cursing outright. They almost went to confront Lu Ruyan and Zhang Yida in person, not to mention dealing with their group of sketchy friends. A scumbag of a man, and a heartless woman. What an overestimation of one's abilities, daring to throw dirt on my son, truly like a young calf unafraid of a tiger, having the audacity to provoke me. Hearing what Father Yi said, Mother Yi from the Yi family simply rolled her eyes. What young calf are we talking about? I think it's more like a beast. It took so much effort on my part to finally calm both Father Yi and Mother Yi down. Seeing them like this, for a moment, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Alright, Mom and Dad, don't worry. I won't let them push me around for no reason. If they dare spread rumors, they'd better be ready to face the consequences. The Zheng family of Haicheng. Lu Ruyan had a face full of malice, looking at Zhang Yida, who was crying uncontrollably. Her eyes were filled with nothing but disgust. Have I ever told you before? You'd better put away those little schemes of yours. I originally thought you might still be of some use. I was planning to keep you around. But you sure have some nerve. You went straight to Wang Tianmei and their group to smear Aiken. Looks like I've been way too nice to you. He grabbed his chin, forcing him to lift his head up. He kept shaking his head, but his sympathy can never be regained. Like the fleeting beauty of smoke. That despicable person, clearly the heir to the richest family, but lied to you for 5 years, claiming his family was poor. Now we've offended him again. You don't still think he has feelings for you, do you? Instead of waiting for his revenge later, why not join forces to completely suppress the Yi family? After hearing his words, the weapon in Lu Ruyan's hand finally eased a bit. That's right, I am clearly the son of the richest man, but I hid it from him for a full 5 years. If he had known earlier that I was the son of the richest man, why would he need to arrange a marriage with someone else? He never looked down on the fake identity I made up, and he was still willing to keep me by his side. But I used this opportunity to completely break away from him, let him suffer such a big loss. Then why would he still uphold my superior status? Let me fall from grace together with him, and wait until I have no way out, and have no choice but to turn to him again. Wouldn't that be better? After all, when I left back then, I had already discarded everything related to us, left behind what could be left, and burned what could be burned. As long as they keep holding on to this, does that mean I'll have no choice but to carry the shame of being called the other woman? Lu Ruyan released her grip from Zhang Yida's chin. When she looked at him, there was finally a hint of satisfaction in her eyes. then you'd better put in more effort, and completely pull him down from his position as the richest man. After saying that he didn't stay here any longer, he turned around and left Zhang Yida's villa. The roar of the car engine grew fainter and fainter. The resentment in Zhang Yida's eyes grew deeper and deeper. He didn't do these things on a whim. Ever since he returned from Hu City this time, after learning that he messed up the bidding, and even offended the young lady of the Lu family, the Zhang family decisively abandoned him. He had initially planned to secure his position in the Zhang family by relying on his marriage with Lu Ruyan, but just as he brought it up, Zhang's father and mother immediately slapped him across the face. "You still dare to bring up the marriage with Lu Ruyan? Today, as soon as he returned, he came looking for us, called off the engagement and couldn't even keep a woman. Think about it yourself. What use do you even have left?" It wasn't until this moment, Zhang Yida finally realized that everyone had given up on him. But why should it be like this? "Yi Liangchen, all because of you. I was abandoned by the Zhang family, despised by Lu Ruyan. What makes you think you can still look down on me from above?" He directed all his resentment toward me, dragged Wang Tianmei and Lu Ruyan into it, made one final desperate gamble. They all assumed I erased all traces of being with Lu Ruyan, even considered the possibility. Even if I presented evidence of our 5-year relationship, they could also fabricate evidence from an earlier time, until I directly released 2 surveillance videos, and the chat records from when Zhang Yida provoked me. One of the videos was from a month ago. It captured them speaking to each other in French right in front of me. Although it was a surveillance recording, the voices of several people were somewhat distorted, but the meaning of their words was still conveyed very clearly. "Lu Yuyan secretly got engaged to someone else without telling me, still trying to keep me by your side under the guise of love, keeping me around as your lover in the name of love." Another surveillance footage shows the confrontation between Zhang Yida and me outside the restroom. You can clearly hear Zhang Yida saying to me, "I was the one who dated Lu Ruyan for 5 years first. Even if we were to argue about who the intruder really is, it should be you." Aside from impotent rage, but there was no rebuttal. If the person interfering was really me, with Zhang Yida's temperament, he would have refuted it at that moment. Plus later on, those things he said in front of the official boyfriend, boasting and showing off. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't seem like something someone being interfered with would say. It actually sounds more like something a person unloved would say. Only someone with the mindset of a mistress would think this way. It's clear they themselves know they are the intruder in this situation. This is the kind of thing only such a person would say. Public opinion shifted almost instantly. The harsh words people used to criticize me back then are now coming back to bite them. Lu Ruyan and Zhang Yida are being criticized just as badly now. Among those netizens who see themselves as justice warriors, they flooded the comments sections of Lu Ruyan and Zhang Yida's social media, launching into a frenzy of insults and attacks. I went straight to filing a lawsuit, targeting those who had previously left abusive comments under my posts, and had received a significant number of likes, as well as those who took advantage of the situation to spread false accusations about me, including the group of sisters associated with Zhang Yida and Lu Ruyan. I brought all of them to court. Afterwards, I stopped handling the matter personally, and handed everything over to Cheng Chi's legal team. When I logged back into my social media account, the comments section finally looked much cleaner. Every now and then, some troublemakers appear. They are quickly muted or banned. Once their mute period is over, just as they are about to start spouting nonsense again, they find a court summons waiting for them in their inbox. That's when they finally calm down for good. When I see kind and comforting comments, I make it a point to post a tweet in response. Justice may come slowly, but it never fails. Only those with a guilty conscience fear rumors. I will only use the law to protect the rights I deserve. Zhang Yida was completely abandoned. I didn't pay much attention to what happened afterward. With the capability of Xingqi's legal department, they will definitely make them face the consequences they deserve. It was only upon hearing that Zhang Yida was taken to court that day, and not even given a defense attorney, that I felt a bit sentimental. In fact, if Zhang Yida hadn't pushed things too far with me, he could have easily maintained a superficial peace with Lu Ruyan, just an ordinary marital alliance between wealthy families. But he simply wasn't satisfied. When I was still by Lu Ruyan's side, he wanted to drive me away. After I left, he blamed me for all the grievances he had suffered. He wanted to crush me under his feet. Yet in the end, this is how things turned out for him, including those women led by Wang Tianmei and Lu Ruyan's circle, always the kind to flatter the powerful and trample the weak, believing that everything is determined at birth. Later realizing that there was absolutely no room for reconciliation with me, ended up aligning with Zhang Yida. and colluding in a despicable manner, eventually being taken to court together. Was it really worth it? Looking back at the central figure of this matter, Lu Ruyan, who never made any relevant statements, simply chose to remain silent on the matter, and managed to distance herself from it all. The day this matter was finally concluded, a representative from the legal team came to see me. They reported the outcome to me. Due to the seriousness of the situation, it was documented in court. That group of people kept insisting they did nothing wrong. Their attitude towards admitting fault was terrible. On top of that, I refused to settle. In the end, they were all sentenced to 2 years in prison. Later, internet users all said, a group of wealthy young men, the scene of them crying and being thrown into prison, is truly something you rarely see. It's probably the only time I'll witness something like this in my life. After learning about their final sentencing outcome, I stopped paying attention to what happened next. I just didn't expect Lu Ruyan to reach out to me again. At that moment I was discussing with Bai Ningbing where to grab some food after work. The phone at the front desk started ringing. Miss Lu is here to see you, Mr. Yi. When I heard that, I was taken aback for a moment. I froze for a second. I glanced at the person next to me who, in just 1 month, had managed to suppress the Lu group, to the point where it was no longer as dominant as before. After thinking it over for a bit, I decided to agree. I was curious too. In this kind of situation, where both sides have completely fallen out with each other, what could she possibly want by coming to see me? I figured Lu Ruyan probably hasn't been doing well lately, but the moment I actually saw her, I was still stunned for a second. It's only been a few months since we last met, and I almost didn't recognize her. The person in front of the desk looked so thin and frail, with a face full of despair. The woman who looked at least 10 years older, unexpectedly, turned out to be the stunningly beautiful Lu Ruyan from not long ago. But I was only surprised for a moment, and quickly returned to the state described in the book, a demeanor that keeps people at a distance. Meanwhile, Lu Ruyan glanced at Bai Ningbing, who sat calmly by my side. Seemed surprised to find him here as well. Her breathing faltered for a brief moment, but he also understood that the current version of himself no longer had any say in front of me. His face was full of sorrow, pleading for the last bit of mercy from me. Aiken, I know it was my fault in the past, but I truly never lied to you back then. From beginning to end I have only ever loved you. For the sake of the feelings we once had, spare the Lu family. She carried herself with a very humble demeanor. There was no trace of the arrogance she used to show when we were together. She tried her best to suppress it, but her pride always managed to reveal itself in subtle ways. I simply spread my hands, shook my head slightly, and gestured toward Bai Ningbing sitting beside me. I said, it's not me who's trying to suppress the Lu family. Why don't you ask her instead? I gave a faint smile. Though there was a smile on their face, the smile never reached their eyes. Let alone Lu Ruyan. The bond we used to share, wasn't it already worn out by you, when she secretly got engaged to someone else without telling me, and only planned to keep me as a lover on the side? When he mocked me with those sisters of his in French, and belittled me without ever thinking to stop them? When Zhang Yida and his sisters spread lies about me, during that time, he was perfectly content to act like he was invisible. Now he's coming back to me, bringing up our past relationship. Why didn't he think about it back then? We used to share feelings for each other. As soon as those words left his mouth, Lu Ruyan's face instantly turned pale. In that moment, he felt a bitter taste in his throat. Even swallowing became a struggle. Aiken, I know I was wrong. I'm apologizing to you. But if things keep going like this, the Lu family might really not be able to bear it. I just shrugged casually as always. What does it matter to me if the Lu family can't take it? Lu Ruyan. They all faced the consequences of their actions. What makes you think a simple apology can completely absolve you from responsibility? But I have never done anything like that to you. Her face was filled with anxiety. She tried to defend herself, but as soon as her words fell, I stopped even pretending to smile. You didn't do it. You just stood by and watched indifferently. People like you who stand by like Lu Ruyan are the worst. I looked at the woman in front of me. My eyes showed undisguised disgust. It's because of your indifference. Only your sister would treat me with such harsh words. It was because you stood by and watched. That's what gave Zhang Yida chance after chance to hurt me. And now you say you didn't do anything. Alright then, you claim you didn't do anything. I'll also say I never suppressed the Lu family. I can't offer any help to the Lu family. After saying that, I raised my voice and said, Linda, show them out. Linda responded by opening the office door, with a perfectly professional smile on her face. Please let Mr. Lu handle this. He seemed like he wanted to say more, but I was already pulling Bai Ningbing along, walking straight past him and heading outside. Anyway, I'm the CEO. Skipping work for a bit doesn't matter. As for the person in the office, Linda is keeping an eye on them. There shouldn't be any issues sending her off. So, what should we eat? Western cuisine or homemade meals? It's been a while since I last had it. I'm kind of craving some homemade food. Then let's go with homemade dishes. I'll go with whatever you decide. Bai Ningbing's expression softened. She was completely different from the quiet and reserved person I first met. She glanced back at me and raised an eyebrow. Why do you always go along with what I say? I suddenly stopped in my tracks. Looking at her, his gaze was incredibly serious. This made her heart suddenly skip a beat. She was just about to change the topic and keep walking forward. My voice had already caught up from behind her. Because of Ningbing, I like you. My confession seemed a bit abrupt, yet it was somewhat within his expectations. His steps came to an abrupt halt. When he turned back to look at me, he couldn't help but let out a sigh. But I remember you saying that you're not ready to start a new relationship just yet. So when you feel ready to open up, can I be the first one? His eyes shone like a galaxy full of stars. I noticed the light sparkling in his gaze, and the words of rejection just wouldn't come out. I gave a small smile. Since you asked so sincerely, I guess I'll reluctantly agree. He responded with a smile as well. It wasn't a reluctant answer to my words. He followed his heart and stepped forward to embrace me. Bai Ningbing waited through many lonely winters and summers. He believed the next lonely winter and summer would no longer be his to endure.